It is story time on Falcons Today. I want to talk about how James Pearce Jr. ended up as an Atlanta Falcon. Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated put out a very juicy article combing through some of the behind-the-scenes details that led to the Falcons picking the Tennessee edge rusher. So we're going to unpack all that on today's episode while talking about the other first-round pick Atlanta made as well. But let's talk about Albert Breer, getting into the nuts and bolts of how we got James Pearce in Atlanta, saying when a Falcons contingent led by GM Terry Fontenot touched down in North Carolina, it was pouring rain. Fontenot looked at the forecast, saw the rain wouldn't break, and texted to agents to tell them they'd scrap the workout, not wanting to be a prospect in a situation where he'd risk injury that close to the draft. The agent Dandy told Fontenot that Pearce was insistent. Fontenot responded that Pearce didn't need to worry about it. Danny responded that Pearce was already trying to find an indoor facility to rent out. In the end, they agreed instead to meet at the house that Pearce had bought his mom in the area and then bring him into Atlanta for a 30 visit thereafter. So, quick interjection here because there's some, fun little behind the scenes details as to how we got Pearce in Atlanta with, a lot of just motivation on James Pearce's part to make sure that this meeting happened, which I think if you're Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris, you really like that out of Pearce because people have questioned his character and whether or not he's truly committed to, pouring every single bit of himself into the game. So here he is trying to problem solve when Mother Nature is being a little bit of a pain in the derriere, looking at doing an indoor workout. And to me, I feel like if you're the Falcons brass, you went into this workout going, we know what he's like on film. We want to get to know the person a little bit more, right? We're not here to find out if he's fast. We know you're fast, but can you show us what we don't know about you? Can you show us the commitment and the drive you have to the game? And here's a guy that had every opportunity to go, oh, darn, it's raining. Okay, well, maybe next time. But no, he's showing Fontenot and Morris, I want to be a Falcon, and I'm going to try and do everything in my power to make sure that you guys walk away from this with a good impression of myself. So we also got more from James Pearce on this Albert Breer article talking about whether or not Terry Fontenot had concerns over his character, saying the whole experience helped the Falcons complete the picture on a player who was widely seen as a character risk, someone who was rumored to have been divisive and difficult within the Tennessee program. In the end, after sitting down with Pearce and a slew of people from his past, the team saw a guy who loves football, is hyper-competitive, and has smarts. And the Falcons were willing to bet on Morris's program to help him grow up. That last little bit right there, to me, I kind of interpreted that as the Atlanta Falcons kind of, I wouldn't say leaked this, I guess we'll call it leaked it to Albert Breer, meaning they want Falcons fans to feel upbeat and excited about this pick right here because that was supposed to be the pick at 15 until Jalon Walker was still available. So I think the Falcons right now are trying to get everyone on their side when it comes to whether or not it was a good idea for Atlanta to trade their first-round pick next year for a first-round pick this year, and also move back a little over 50 spots in day 2 of the draft to select Pearce, right? They are putting out a little bit of a Disney story of we met with him and look at the character he has, and I'm not knocking it, but I think it's important whenever you see stories like this to wonder, I wonder who told Albert Breer this, because I don't think it was James Pearce. And so that really only leaves one other possibility. It could be the agent, but this would be a lot of background knowledge for the agent to have when I don't know how he'd have some of this knowledge. To me, I interpret it as the Falcons want everyone to feel really energized about this draft pick right here. And I am energized, and I am excited about it because Pearce is one of the most athletic outside linebackers we've seen into the draft recently. He's got incredible speed. He can get into the backfield in the blink of an eye. He can disrupt the play, and the Falcons are looking for speed on this defense, and he is going to be one of the fastest 22 players on the field, no matter who else is on the field with him. So I am excited about this, but looking back at the trade and what they gave up for him, I'm not blown away that the Falcons are kind of putting out some friendly, feel-good, puff piece to get everyone pumped up about this trade up, because a lot of people have been saying, Petey, you're not looking at this right. Yes, they gave up a first-round pick next year, but they got a first-round pick this year. So they just borrowed next year's first-round pick for this year. My issue with that thinking is you don't know where you are picking next year. If you were guaranteed to be picking 26 next year, then yes, you are correct. You swapped first-round picks for next year for this year, and as a consequence for making the Rams wait another year, you move back 54 spots in day 2 of the draft. But that line of thinking assumes you're picking 26 next year. If Atlanta knew they were picking 15 next year, ask yourself, would you feel the same way about that trade? Personally, me, not so much, right? I would wonder if that might be a little bit too valuable of a first-round pick next year to use 26 overall this year, right? We'll give you our 15th next year for your 26th pick this year, and we're going to move back 54 spots in the draft in day 2. So there's a bit of a gamble here that you are picking late in round 1 next year since you used a late round 1 pick on him this year. If you are picking early in round 1 next year, it's not going to be a very good trade unless James Pearce lives up to, the billing. So a little bit of background on him just as a whole, because I love to do a little pros and cons list. So 3 pros I've got for him. 1, it's the speed, and I know you've heard this a million times, but what I want to add on to the speed is not just the burst at the line of scrimmage, his ability to just get past the offensive tackles within 1 or 2 steps, but also, he's not going to be a big edge rusher. He doesn't have elite size in that category. He does have a very nice and not so nice for offensive linemen knack for converting that speed into power. I think he's also pretty good in run stopping. Guy had 13 tackles for loss last year, but over the past 2 seasons for Tennessee, he had well over 100 pressures. That is number 1 in the SEC during that time span, number 6 in the FBS. So he is not, I don't think he is someone that is just a pass rush specialist. I think there's more to his game. I do think as he matures and as he grows as a player, he's got to convert a little bit more of those pressures into sacks because, I do like pressures and they are an underrated stat. For example, the easy go-to one right now is the Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship game. Did the Chiefs sack Josh Allen at the end of the game? No, they pressured him, and they forced maybe not a perfect, drop, but, not an ideal throw, but it doesn't go down as a sack, but it does go down as turnover on downs, which in that case is just as good as a sack. Now, the cons. He's not your, I wouldn't say traditional size, but he's a bit more on the leaner end, right? Just look at him right here. He looks more kind of like a bigger DB, like a big safety than an outside linebacker. I'm sure for the combine, he tried to put on a little bit more weight, but I'm thinking at Tennessee, he probably played around 243 to 245 pounds, not as close to 250-ish. Now, the strength as a whole, it can improve, but that's just true for anyone that's in their very young to early 20s. No one's body, just from an anatomy standpoint, is fully grown and developed when you're 21, 22. So give it till he's 24, 25, 26, and we're probably going to have a better representation as to what Pierce's profile has looked like from a physical standpoint. Third one is, this is almost like a Michael Scott compliment, where sometimes he works too hard. Sometimes he's too fast. He just sprints into the backfield, and then the play's behind him, right? He almost doesn't have the correct angle because he went too fast initially, and he just didn't put himself in a spot to get in track with where the ball was going. So I don't think I want to tell him to slow down, but maybe just a little bit? I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that one right there. All right, before we talk about Jalon Walker, quick shout out to our friends over at Factor. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. It's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. Now, I've been shedding for the wedding, and a great way I've done that is by eating a lot of salmon and a lot of chicken. And if you look at the salmon on screen right now, it looks delicious. I love blackened salmon and broccoli right now. So if you want to get on that same bod train as me right now, get started at factormeals.com/FalconsChat50off and use code FalconsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code FalconsChat50off at factormeals.com/FalconsChat50off for 50% off plus free shipping. I put all that information down in the comments and description of today's video. So this Albert Breer article also had a little bit on Jalon Walker. So I thought, well, while we're on the subject, why not share this as well? Because Walker, I think, is going to be your day one starting outside linebacker opposite of Leonard Floyd. I think James Pearce is going to be heavily in the mix and in the rotation at that spot. I wouldn't be surprised if there's instances where they kick Walker to Troy Anderson's spot and they get Pearce, Ellis, Walker, Floyd on like 3rd and 12 to get all 4 of their top pass rushers on the field. But Walker was supposed to be, long gone by 15. So when he fell in Atlanta's lap, apparently they were doing like cartwheels in the war room. Here's what Breer wrote. When the Indianapolis Colts chose to pick at number 14 and not trade, Atlanta's draft room erupted before even hearing Tyler Warren's name. Walker impressed the Falcons as he had just about everyone else, every Georgia player told the brass when asked about what teammate they'd bring with them to the pros, that Walker would be the guy. You know what? I'm so excited about this pick. I'm just so mad at myself for not even being on the Walker hype train from day one. Because I was, hand up, skeptical about his ability to play as an edge rusher. And if that's the route Atlanta should go when they need pass rush help. And he's kind of a tweener at 6'1", 243 pounds. But then I just slapped myself across the face when, Petey, they need defense right now. They need help on that side of the football. And everyone from Georgia is raving about this guy. So you know what? I'd say the team that's had the number one defense in college football for the last 5 years, if there's a player that everyone wants to play with and the coaches just can't stop saying enough great things about him, is probably a very good pick at number 15 for the Atlanta Falcons. Start by getting some cornerstone pieces, and I think Jalon Walker is exactly that. Now, there is some work to be done when it comes to his development as an outside linebacker, since that appears to be the plan in place. I think it was Jeff Ulbrich, or someone called him just like a supersized version of Caden Ellis, which is a great way of putting it. He's got great frame and fluidity to his profile. He is just, I wouldn't say made in a lab, but like a test tube lab, like half lab, half human. Like he's got just awesome size and speed and strength to his game. He is as well-rounded as a football player as you can find on defense. You can stick him on the defensive line. You can stick him at linebacker. You can put him in the slot if you need to. Now, I don't think Atlanta should get carried away with that, because if you can play all the positions, maybe you can't play any of the positions, right? If you have 3 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. So I'd like to see Walker find his footing with just one spot on defense and then grow from there as the seasons and as his career progresses. But I love the versatility that he brings to the defense. I also love what the Falcons are getting in him. He's a team captain. He is a leader. And I know that every single player that gets into the draft at some point was that guy on their team, or at least most of them were. But Walker is in his own tier. And so for the Falcons, trying to find just some, DNA to lean back on and go, this is what the Atlanta Falcons defense is all about, I'd love for Walker to be the poster child of that. Now, unfortunately, some cons. He's not a traditional sized edge rusher. He's 6'1", 243 pounds. A lot of people have said, well, Micah Parsons wasn't very big coming out of Penn State. Micah was 6'3", 247. So, yeah, not super big, but bigger. So hopefully, for my sake at least, size doesn't matter. But I know for some people it does matter. Now, for Walker, you can look at, despite not being a traditional sized outside linebacker, he led Georgia in pressures, in pass rush win percentage, in sacks, and he wasn't even top 5 in pass rush snaps last year. Some people think that there might be a little bit of a projection here, and I don't think they're wrong for that because he only started 1 year. So I think this is a pick, not for the future, but a pick of, hey, the small sample size we've seen is fantastic. So we're projecting what you can be in a few years. It's almost like a Shark Tank product, right? Where, hey, it's only been 1 year, but in that 1 year, we've had tremendous amount of sales. And we're projecting next year a 300% increase. So we haven't seen it quite yet, but it's not a bad thought to feel that he could get to that point based on the early returns. Who was your favorite pick for Atlanta, though? Jalon Walker or James Pearce Jr.? Scroll on down to the comment section. Let me know. I'm going to go with Jalon Walker, which all my Tennessee friends are going to hate me for saying that over my own volunteer, but I think this guy's going to be something special. All right, I think that's everything we have on tap for today. Greatly appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you have not yet, click that subscribe button down below, and I'll see everyone next time.